UFC 309 just took place. I'm doing a recap, a little review on all the fights. And honestly, this card was very good. At first when the card was announced, I'm like, this card sucks. It sucks ass. But some stuff got added and this card became very good out of nowhere. And it really delivered. This fight this whole card really delivered besides some, you know, bad fights, but even the bad fights weren't even that bad. They were just not as great as the fights that just took place. So we're just gonna jump right into it. Veronica Hardy versus Eduardo Mora. I said Eduardo Mora would probably get a submission, but it's a woman's fight. You know, Eduardo Mora is good on the ground. Veronica Hardy lost the first two rounds, but she's a slow starter. Came back, won the third, in my opinion. While she did outstrike Eduardo just had more control, and let's be honest, control is a lot more important in women's MMA because they don't really do much damage, with all due respect. At least most fights don't. So I would say easily 2-1 Mora. People seem to agree with that, and this isn't a bad loss from Veronica Hardy. She's still a really good improving fighter, and I don't think so. I don't really think this will affect her too much. But all right fight. Basel Hafez versus Oban Elliott. I said Oban would win decision. It got to the third round. Oban was clearly in control of this fight, like I said he would. Like I said, he has good counter grappling. He has good boxing, and I just didn't think Basel would be able to win, whether it's on the feet or on the ground. So I went Oban Elliott decision. He had a beautiful overhand on Basel Hafez, knocked him out. Great knockout. Great way to start off the card. Like I said, this card was just really good. A lot of highlights. And Oban, man, I've been saying he's a contender. He's a really good prospect coming up. He learns very fast. He improves very fast. And he looked amazing tonight. He looked really amazing. Great prospect to look out for. Mickey Gall versus Ramiz. I chose Mickey Gall because I was thinking Mickey Gall is a dog. Like, he's experienced. Ramiz has only won by submission. He's literally only won by submissions. And I thought Mickey Gall would be able to counter him in striking because Mickey Gall, despite his record, isn't a bad striker. He's kind of just a mid fighter. But I thought if Ramiz couldn't get the submission, Mickey Gall would win a decision. Just because Mickey Gall, he's tough. He has alright boxing. And he'd be able to neutralize Ramiz on the ground. And it was kind of looking that way. It was kind of a back and forth fight for the first 3 minutes. And Ramiz just landed a great overhand hook. He kind of went around Mickey Gall, caught him for a hook that Mickey Gall didn't see coming. And it was just a great knockout, great TKO. And Ramiz, man, I mean, he's exciting. I don't know how far he'll last. He's only 11-6. But he is young. He is exciting. And I want to see more of his ground game. However, it's just a really good knockout. But it's Mickey Gall at the end of the day. It's not, with all due respect, a win over Mickey Gall doesn't really mean much at all, in my opinion. But another good fight, another good knockout. I was very surprised. It was like the odds were close in this one, but I kind of understand why. So this fight starts. I'm thinking Tybura, shoot a takedown, shoot a takedown. You can't be standing with Denise like this. And Denise knocks him down. Denise rocks him very bad, and I'm thinking, okay, Tybura, please, like I'm begging Tybura, just grapple. Just go for a grapple. I said Tybura would win a decision, but I also said submission. It was TKO. Great elbows. 12-6 elbows are now legal. So Tybura, he gets rocked. Denise is looking good. Denise is looking like he's going to have an easy finish. And Tybura, just a veteran. Like I said, he's one of the best gatekeepers. He fights. He's very tough. And he just gets Denise down, lays on him, resets the round. But he's just elbowing him. So round 2, we start up. Tybura, he looks to be regained. He's fine. Denise is tired. And the reason Denise is tired is because grappling pace is very different from striking pace. Grappling, it costs a lot more stamina to grapple, especially when you're not used to it. Tybura is used to it. He's a grappler. He has more stamina. He looks fresher than Denise, but it's on short notice. And he gets Denise down again. And fucking hell, he goes to town. He just elbows him really late in the round. He just lays on him a bit and really late starts elbowing him, cuts him open, has like 3 different cuts. He's rocked. As soon as the round's over, Tybura gets up. Denise has to get picked up by his cornermen. He doesn't know what he's doing. He's out. He's just bleeding everywhere. I will say, by the start of the round, at least by like when they were about to start the third round, he looked fine. He looked like he regained consciousness, but it's a bad sign. He had bad cuts, and I thought he'd probably get finished in the third round. So they stopped on the stool, doctor stoppage. I would say good stoppage, but a little debatable in my opinion, but still a good fight. Denise just needs to work on his grappling, but it's Tybura. This was a huge jump up from Derek Lewis, especially stylistically, on short notice. David Onama versus Roberto Romero. Roberto Romero stepped up on short notice against David Onama. David Onama is a good boxer. I said David Onama would win first round knockout. Or just decision because usually David Onama said that he's worked on his cardio a lot. He's worked on pacing, so I'm like, usually when someone says that, they want to show us that they can do it. So they go to a decision, and that's kind of my basis on this fight. And I didn't think Roberto Romero could keep up because it was on short notice against David Onama, who has really strong punching power for this division and is a really clean striker. Roberto Romero knocks down David Onama in the first round after some really good back and forth fighting, back and forth striking. David Onama's landing clean, but he's being patient. Roberto Romero's just trying to get him out of there. Knocks David Onama down, and I thought it would be over. David Onama took a lot of damage in that first round, but he ended up using his grappling base. He grappled, he recovered in the first round. Arguably won, but I don't think he won, just based off the knockdown. And then in the second and third, Roberto Romero, he's tired from the grappling at the end of the round from David Onama. And David Onama just completely regained his composure, striking him up, clean boxing, clean leg kicks. And he just easily outpaces him in the second and third. His cardio has gotten so much better. I love David Onama. David Onama fights a lot. And he fights good. He's a really fun fighter. He just loves to fight. Sorry, I was looking at that. But basically, really good fight. Roberto Romero, really impressive. His cardio lasted, but not, maybe not as good as it was if he actually took the fight on a normal situation. If it wasn't short notice, I think he would have done a lot better. And he already did good. So Roberto Romero, for sure, prospect. I want to see him fight a lot more. His striking's very good. He can work on grappling a little bit. Because David Onama's not the best grappler, but Onama was able to grapple him very comfortably. If he works on his grappling a little bit, he's a dangerous striker. He's fast. He has a lot of power. I really like him. He's 8-4, which usually isn't UFC level, but I mean, he fought David Onama. That was really good. He did good against David Onama. David Onama is a very tough opponent. Very tough. All in all, though, a really good fight. Jim Miller versus Damon Jackson. I went Jim Miller decision because I was like, Jim Miller just took a beating from Bobby Green. A very bad beating. But he's a veteran. I thought Damon Jackson would be able to stall out a little bit. Damon Jackson's a very slow starter. And he's kind of a guy that just doesn't do enough to win decisions sometimes. Sometimes. And he kind of leaves it to the judges. But it's this fight was looking pretty even. I thought Jim Miller was taking control of the fight. Right before the finish. And he just locks up a nasty guillotine. Nasty guillotine. It's as soon as he gets it around the neck, it's over. It was completely over. Nasty guillotine. He dived for it and everything. And it was just synced in immediately. Jim Miller, he's different, man. Jim Miller is just a really good vet. I love Jim Miller. And if you don't love Jim Miller, I don't know, bro. He's the guy you always root for no matter what. Damon Jackson did end up retiring. I feel bad for him, but it's I don't think he had the level to be really elite or even top 15 in my opinion. So, I don't feel too bad for him. I think this was the highest he'll get, and I think it was a good retirement. Because he doesn't have the best chin anyway. He's been knocked out, he's been chinned. If he gets one more knockout, I mean, that ruins his ranking, and it ruins probably his life. So, best to just come out. I lost a submission in the first round. I didn't take much damage. I'll retire off that. That's not a bad retirement, especially against Jim Miller. I chose Jonathan Martinez for a decision, and the reason I chose Jonathan Martinez was because Marcus McGee has a very wild style, as y'all saw. He's very square. He has very good boxing, but he swings with a lot of power, and I thought Jonathan Martinez is probably going to be the guy to humble Marcus McGee with leg kicks and make him really cautious, which he did, but only in the third round. But I'm going to go all the rounds. Marcus McGee showed really good boxing. Jonathan Martinez did not throw in the first 2 rounds. He just did not throw. Marcus McGee had really good boxing, put on the pressure. Very similar to Jose Aldo versus Jonathan Martinez. I think it's a confidence issue for Jonathan Martinez. I really think it's a confidence issue because he's just scared to throw. It feels like he second guesses himself and he just doesn't throw. And he's not as confident as he usually is. Marcus McGee showed good boxing and capitalized where Jonathan Martinez couldn't. And in the third round, I was screaming, Jonathan Martinez, you gotta go. You gotta throw leg kicks. You need a TKO. He hurts him. He hurts Marcus McGee really bad to the legs. Almost beats him 2 leg kicks. And then his decision is, I'm going to clinch you against the fence for 2 minutes. You need a finish. You clinch him against the fence for 2 minutes. Your coaches aren't telling you to stop clinching. Your coaches, you need something else. They're not telling you. They're not helping you at all. Bad decision making. And there was a lot of times where I feel like Marcus McGee was just squared up and Jonathan Martinez could kick the leg. And he just didn't. So his timing was off. And the most frustrating thing about this is, in my opinion, Jonathan Martinez has potential to be top 10 very easily. He has the skill, but it's a mental thing. Maybe he's not at the right camp. Maybe, I believe he's at the same camp as Chris Gutierrez, and Chris Gutierrez also has the same problem. So I think it's a camp issue, but I'd love to see Jonathan Martinez against someone else good. Marcus McGee is really good. He's just 34 years old, but he's a freak athlete. I just think Jonathan Martinez is going to waste his potential if he doesn't make a change mentally. So, that's my opinion. But good performance by Marcus McGee. Had really good boxing. Almost got finished by leg kicks, but the first 2 rounds was just dominant for Marcus. And, yeah, I'm going to leave it at that. Mauricio Rufi versus James Lontop. I don't know how to pronounce his last name. I really don't. So I'm just going to call him James and Mauricio. So Mauricio came out here, and in my opinion, I was like, they're comparing him to Conor a lot. I think Mauricio is one of the most overrated people outside, like, in the Fighting Nerds gym. I don't think he's as high as, like, Chao Barallo, Gene Silva, Carlos Prates. And in all reality, he probably should have won this fight by TKO. But James, I said that he'd win this, or I said that Mauricio would win this first round knockout or decision because James is very tough and James missed weight by a little bit. And you saw that. This was an amazing fight. Mauricio, first 2 rounds, domination. Even though he was getting outlanded, just domination, knockdown after knockdown. But we saw that he was gassing out, and James is a fighter. He got up from every knockdown, and the third round came out swinging, put a lot of pressure on Mauricio. And honestly, he landed a lot of good shots. But I think that's his 3rd loss in a row in the UFC. And it's sad. It's sad. I don't think he'll get cut because he stepped up on a short notice. But he did also miss weight. So, in my opinion, while he shouldn't be cut, he probably will be. And it kind of sucks. But he's a warrior. Mauricio's a warrior. Really good striking. Very clean counters. But I personally don't see the comparisons. I just personally don't see the comparisons between Conor and Mauricio. I mean, I see it a little bit, but skill-wise, no. Skill-wise, there's a huge gap. But he has potential. It's just, when you're fighting a guy on 3 days short notice, I expect you to finish him. But James is very tough. He's like the one exception because anybody else who got hit by those shots would have got knocked out. I chose Karine Silva versus Viviane Araújo. Keep in mind, all the fights I just said to you, they were great fights. Or not great. A lot of them were good. Some were great. Amazing fights. And then we get to this one. I went Karine Silva. I thought her grappling would be a lot better. And her striking, while I didn't think it was great, I didn't think it was that fucking bad. I didn't think it was that horrible. To where Viviane Araújo would just piece her up. Karine had some moments, but like, even when she got her to the ground, she didn't really do anything. Like, she was just in very awkward situations. And she couldn't get out of the scenario. She couldn't get out of the scenario. Viviane Araújo kind of just sat on her, bullied her a little bit, and really just showed that she's a lot more dominant. I chose Karin's second round submission, but very disappointed. This kind of killed the hype of the card. The first 2 rounds were pretty good. The third round, oh my god. There was like a full minute of Viviane Araújo just kicking Karin Silva because Karin Silva wouldn't get up. She would not get up. She pulled guard multiple times but failed and just stayed on the ground. She threw the fight away when arguably it was 1-1. She just threw the fight away. Very disappointed by Karin Silva. Fraud checked, low-key. But good performance by Viviane Araújo, just completely neutralized the grappling and outboxed her. And Karin Silva is a pretty good prospect. Not anymore, but a pretty good prospect. That's a hard one to get. That's a good one to get. Bo Nickal versus Paul Craig. I went Bo Nickal knockout because I don't trust in Paul Craig's chin. And I'm going to tell you straight up, Paul Craig, horrible boxing, pretty good kicks, but not really good timing on the kicks. Paul Craig said that he just started eating meat right before this fight because, you know, he was vegetarian or vegan, one of those, and he just didn't eat meat. This motherfucker should have been eating meat the whole time. The whole time he should have been eating meat. His chin got fucking amazing out of nowhere. Took a lot of heavy shots from Bo Nickal, but Bo Nickal did struggle. This was kind of a fraud check. Bo Nickal definitely struggled. But I said he would because Paul Craig is very weird. He enjoys his kicks. He would keep distance with kicks. He's good at keeping distance. But I didn't expect Bo Nickal to struggle this much to the point where he wouldn't do anything. He didn't really shoot a takedown. I don't think he won 3-0. I think Paul Craig won the first. Second is arguable, but I thought it was 2-1 Bo Nickal. Fraud checked, yes. However, you don't want to take Paul Craig down, and that kind of took away Bo Nickal's strong suit. I still think Bo Nickal beat Shara just based off wrestling, but definitely not as hype-worthy as Bo Nickal, but Paul Craig isn't a bad win. Paul Craig I think he beat Nikita Krylov, he beat Jamal Hill, he beat Ankalaev. Paul Craig's not a bad win, but, you know, there's not really much hype around him, so people don't consider it a good win, even though he's very tricky. This fight was a lot of things. This was fight of the night. Guaranteed. This deserved it 100%. This was an amazing fight. Chandler didn't look bad for being out the cage, but you could see the ring rust. He was tripping multiple times. And I'm just going to start from the first round. Oliveira dominated the first 4 rounds. He dominated the first 4 rounds. Grappling-wise, very heavy. I think he had over like 14 minutes of control on Michael Chandler. Maybe 15, 16. He was rocking Michael Chandler on the feet. His boxing was just a lot better. He just looked like the better fighter than Michael Chandler. But there was a moment in the 5th round. Well, actually, I just got to all rounds. The first 4 rounds, like I said, he dominated in boxing. Didn't really get rocked. He was rocking Michael Chandler, out-grappling Michael Chandler completely. But a lot of it was back control, which I thought he'd get the rear naked choke, which is what I said he would do. I said he would get the rear naked choke because Dustin Poirier did that to Michael Chandler. Apparently, Dustin Poirier, I don't know, bro. I don't know. I guess he has better rear naked chokes than Charles Oliveira. But Michael Chandler was very sound defensively on the ground. And in that 5th round, he hit Oliveira hard. He hit Oliveira hard with a hook, ended up dropping him. And when I tell you, he hit Oliveira in the back of the head 20 times, maybe 40. He was going crazy. Hammer fists. Like, everything was to the back of the head of Oliveira. No warnings, no nothing. They were just going to let it happen. Oliveira, he's not a quitter. We know he's not a quitter. He used to be, maybe. He's mentally different. He took all those shots, came back, fought a good round against Michael Chandler. Didn't win the round because Michael Chandler had that huge moment, but was very comfortable at the end. And while Michael Chandler, you know, he didn't have the greatest performance, he showed signs of, like, his prime self. I will say, dirty as fuck. He was grabbing the fence multiple times. He was hooking Oliveira's gloves from time to time, but Oliveira got a warning. Oliveira was getting warnings for putting his fingers above the eyes like this. But Michael Chandler was eye-poking Oliveira. He was eye-poking Oliveira, grabbing the fence, hooking the gloves. It's like, not to mention, well, like I just said, the 40 back of the headshots. He was just fighting dirty also. So it's like Michael Chandler, very dirty fighting. But I understand. In this scenario, you kind of had to. This was for sure fight of the night. Amazing fight. Oliveira, this is just a new Oliveira. He looked amazing in this fight. I reckon this Oliveira would probably be Arman Tsarukyan. Maybe Islam Makhachev. But Michael Chandler, he called out. He said that he wants Oliveira to have the title shot, by the way. But he called out saying, I want. Who do you. I remember Conor McGregor. Obviously, he said Conor McGregor. He wants Max Holloway. There we go. He wants to fight Max Holloway for the BMF after cheating or after being a very dirty fighter. But it's like, it's Chandler. He's always been dirty. And he wants Conor. I thought he was over with that. I thought Conor's not going to come back and fight Chandler. I still don't think he is. But he still wants Conor, apparently. But honestly, I'd rather see him fight Dan Hooker in a rematch, maybe. Dan Hooker's for sure adapted his style. He's become a very exciting fighter compared to how he was when he fought Chandler. So I want to see that rematch because Dan Hooker's top 5 right now. But yeah. So if you want, I made a video on this fight, like a 20-minute video, just ranting about this fight. And you could probably watch that if you don't want to see, because I'm not gonna do another 20-minute segment of me saying the stuff I was saying. I'm just gonna break down the fight as non-biased as I can. But I'm an asshole, so I'm still biased. Jon Jones, not a good performance. I know people are saying, "Oh, this Jon Jones tears through Aspinall." This Jon Jones, he was getting rocked by Stipe. He was getting hit a lot. But he had really good kicks. I'll give him that. He was very fast in kicks. His striking, his boxing was never really good. It never was. I thought Stipe definitely had the advantage in the boxing majority of the time. Even though he was getting tagged with like jabs and stuff. The thing that really separated them was the kicks. Jon Jones, great performance in the first round. 10-8 at Stipe. Amazing trip. Really good elbows. And I thought it was going to be TKO in the first round again. I did choose Stipe, by the way, because I was like, you know what? I refuse to pick a wife-beating PED cheat. But, I mean, it's whatever, right? Like, it's a risk, it's a reward. I didn't get the reward this time, but I'm sure I will some other time. So, Jon Jones, like I said, good performance first round. Easily a 10-8. Second round, you could maybe argue Stipe. Stipe got outstruck crazy, but Stipe landed the better shots, in my opinion, on the feet. He was rocking Jon Jones, chasing him down. However, he's 42. Jon Jones, he just ran away whenever Stipe got close because he could afford to. One thing I will say, I can't see Herb Dean reffing another Jon Jones fight. Jon Jones, he threatened to he put his fingers like right here. He did that like 20 times to Stipe this fight. No warning. No, John, you got to close your fingers. Nothing. All he would do is put his fingers in Stipe's eyes, and he would run away. Very, very dirty fighting, but I mean, I understand, like, if he's not getting a warning, why stop? Stipe looked like he was getting mad about it too, but they just refused to do anything because it's Jon Jones. But, Stipe's 42, man. And he still outboxed Jon Jones a decent amount. He still had his moments for sure. Jon Jones' chin is just unfair. Because I reckon some of the shots that Stipe hit on Jon Jones, it would definitely rock other people or maybe drop someone else. Jon Jones did look good, but I mean, it's against Stipe. Like, he didn't look great the second or third round. The first round was great, but that's because it was a ground. Like, Stipe's not great on the ground, and he was able to get the trip. When he just stood up with Stipe, he didn't look great at all, especially versus 42-year-old Stipe. In my opinion, Tom Aspinall beats him for sure. This guaranteed it for me. I do still see danger for Tom Aspinall because I'm not a dick sucker. I'm going to be like, okay. Jon Jones, I'm not saying Tom Aspinall wipes through Jon Jones, but because Jon Jones, he does have a chance, but I don't see Tom Aspinall just standing in front of Jon Jones and letting Jon Jones just sit there, There's a lot of moments where Stipe and Jon Jones would just stand there and Stipe just wouldn't throw. Like, at all. Jon Jones, man, it's just... I think he needs to work on his defense, and if he wants to be Aspinall, obviously he could just take him down, but Aspinall's good on the ground. I think he wants to work on his defense. All in all, though, for what it's worth, it was a good performance. 10-8, first round. I don't like John Jones as a person. I really hate John Jones. I hate his fighting style, but I gotta give props where props is due. If you want to see my actual reaction, like I said, look at the video. That was my genuine reaction to the fight. 20 minutes of just pure honesty from me. But I mean, at the end of the day, I don't see how John Jones can beat Aspinall. And it doesn't sound like he will either. It doesn't sound like he wants to fight him. It sounds like he wants Pereira next. He said that he's still fine giving Aspinall the belt. And honestly, I'm okay with that. I want to see John Jones get knocked out by anybody, and I want to see him fight Aspinall, but if he's not going to, at least give the belt. He's not being a real champion and giving his interim title, champion. He's not giving his interim champ a title shot. That's not a real champion. But he's still a good fighter. I just don't think he's the same fighter he was in the Dominic Reyes fight. I think he's worse. I just think Stipe's 42 years old. And he can't follow up. He's not fast enough. He could barely walk. At least he didn't have any he didn't have any movement, Stipe. And he was still tagging John Jones multiple times. I give the win to Aspinall against either of these guys actually, but for what it's worth, this is not about Aspinall. John Jones won. By the way, amazing KO. I know I didn't say shit like that, but his kicks to the body were landing very well. Stipe got hurt from them in the first round. John Jones had a really good game plan coming into this fight. I thought I'd see a little more takedowns, but it's whatever. He had a really good kicking game plan. His kicks have always been good, always been fast and powerful. Drug test him. I'm not saying that because, he has I'm not saying that because he looked amazing. I'm saying that because he has a history of being on PEDs. That should be an automatic drug test. Drug test him. But, good performance for what it's worth. Stipe, I feel bad for Stipe, man. But honestly, this card was really good. This card is amazing. Saw some of the women's fights. I guess there was only two. The only fight I can say was a real stinker. I can't say any of them actually sucked. I don't think any of these fights actually sucked. The worst fight, in my opinion, was Karine Silva versus Araujo, or Bo Nickel versus Paul Craig. But other than that, there was some really good moments in this card and some really good fights. Like, subscribe if you enjoyed the video. I'm going to make more of this. If I get one more subscriber, I actually reached 10 subscribers, which is when I said I would stream the Peter Yan fight and stay up till 1 a.m. So, yeah, I would appreciate it if you guys did that. Like I said, this was a really good card. And while I do hate John Jones, I got to give props where props is due. But like I said, if you want to see my actual reaction, my genuine, not holding anything back reaction, watch that 20-minute video. It will be up before this video, actually, so I appreciate everything. And I'll make a fights to make after video tomorrow.